Midnight Trains through 1920 Chicago, the soundtrack of a restless nation. Section 1. The midnight station. The year is 1927. Midnight has settled over Chicago, yet Union Station hums with life. The air is thick with coal smoke and a lingering tang of iron, a metallic perfume that clings to the brick walls and steel beams. Lamps cast halos of yellow light across the wide concourse, their glow softened by a haze of steam rising from engines waiting on the tracks. Please subscribe my channel, press bell icon. The night belongs to the trains. Their whistles pierce the darkness, long and mournful, echoing across the sleeping city. Each call is both a farewell and a promise, a signal to all who gather here that another journey is about to begin. The ground trembles faintly underfoot as locomotives stir, their wheels turning slowly, as though even these mighty machines take a moment to awaken fully. Passengers shuffle through the station, their footsteps clicking against polished stone. Some hurry, clutching their coats tight against the chill that seeps through the cavernous hall. Others linger, hands heavy on worn suitcases, their eyes reflecting fatigue and expectation in equal measure. Here, at this hour, every traveler carries a story. A young man in a cap and threadbare jacket, leaving behind the stockyards for a new chance out west. A mother with her children pressed close, whispering comfort as she guides them toward the platform. A businessman straightening his tie, his briefcase locked with more determination than wealth. Vendors move softly among them, selling papers, coffee, and sandwiches wrapped in paper. The faint aroma of bread mingles with smoke, a contrast of warmth and grit. Newsboys call out headlines, words of politics, sports, and scandal, reminders that even as the trains roll on, the city itself never rests. Outside, the platforms are alive with motion. Porters lift trunks with practiced ease, their breaths clouding in the cold. Conductors stride with authority, lanterns swinging like tiny beacons in the dark. The train cars stand long and gleaming, their windows glowing with lamplight, each one a capsule of life waiting to be set in motion. And then, at last, the boarding call. Voices rise as families exchange hurried goodbyes, as lovers hold a moment longer before parting, as children's hands wave from windows already smudged with the marks of countless journeys before. The hiss of steam fills the air, clouds rolling across the platform like restless spirits. The midnight train begins to move. Slowly at first, an iron giant testing its strength, then faster, gathering rhythm. Wheels strike the rails in a steady beat, a heartbeat that grows stronger with each turn. The whistle cries once more, high and lingering, a voice that belongs both to machine and to city. Behind it, the station falls quieter but never truly still. Another train will follow. Another set of passengers will wait. For in Chicago of the 1920s, midnight is not the end of the day, but its continuation. The trains keep time, carrying the restless energy of a nation forward, mile after mile, into the unknown. Section 2, a city alive with night. Chicago after dark in the 1920s was no quiet town. The city thrummed with energy, a place where industry, music, and hidden pleasures merged into a restless rhythm that matched the turning wheels of the trains. By day, smoke rose from factories, but by night, another kind of smoke lingered. Cigars curling in speakeasies, kitchens roasting late suppers, the sharp tang of bootleg liquor poured into glasses behind unmarked doors. The streets near the station glowed under flickering lamps, their light bending in the mist. Taxi drivers leaned on their horns, their cars rattling as they ferried passengers from the night trains into the heart of the city. The sound of horse hooves still echoed here and there, though the motor car had begun its steady claim on the streets. Between the two, the city moved with a strange dual rhythm, part old world, part new. From the windows of passing trains, one could glimpse the life of the city unfolding. Smoky clubs pulsed with jazz, trumpets wailing, drums rolling, voices crooning with the velvet heat of the age. Couples danced shoulder to shoulder, feet shuffling quick across the floors, their laughter rising above the rhythm. For many, these clubs were more than entertainment. They were a refuge from the weight of the world outside, a place where music carried them beyond the worries of prohibition, poverty, or prejudice. Factories, too, still labored long into the night. Their windows glowed, machines pounding in steady cadence, men working shifts that seemed endless. Their toil echoed the sound of the trains, both unyielding, both symbols of progress and demand. The night shift ended not in silence, but in the whistle of engines pulling out of the station, reminding every worker that the nation's hunger for growth never slept. Beyond the clamor, neighborhoods breathed their own stories. In tenements, families pressed together in small rooms, their windows cracked for air, the sounds of trains mixing with lullabies whispered to restless children. On the south side, porches carried the hum of conversations, the air alive with voices in different tongues: Polish, Italian, Irish, African American, each community adding its note to the city's restless symphony. Yet it was not all toil and music. The streets also carried secrets. Prohibition had pushed liquor underground, and with it came crime, power struggles, and shadows that moved as swiftly as the trains themselves. Gangsters rode through the night in sleek cars, their presence both feared and admired, a reflection of a city that was as dangerous as it was alive. And still, above it all, the midnight trains cut their way through. Their whistles rose high over jazz, over shouts in alleys, over the pounding of factory floors. They were the city's metronome, the sound by which the night measured itself. For those lying awake in cramped apartments or drifting half asleep in jazz clubs, the train's call was more than a noise. It was a reminder that the city never paused, that even at midnight, life pulsed onward. Chicago in the 1920s was alive with night, and the trains were both witness and participant, carrying its energy into the vast dark beyond. Section 3. The workers and the dreamers step aboard a midnight train in 1920 Chicago, and you find more than passengers. You find faces etched with the weight of long days and eyes lit with the spark of tomorrow. The train was a vessel not only of steel and steam, but of human stories. Workers and dreamers sharing the same narrow aisles, each traveling for reasons as varied as the cargo it carried. There were the workers, their shoulders hunched, their hands rough from factory floors or stockyard labor. Many boarded with little more than a canvas bag, inside it a clean shirt and a sandwich wrapped in brown paper. Their journeys were often short, taking them back to neighborhoods on the city's edge or to nearby towns where another shift awaited. The rhythm of their lives matched the rhythm of the rails, tireless, repetitive, but steady. For them, the train was not adventure, but necessity. Yet sitting just across the aisle might be a dreamer. A young musician, trumpet case in hand, headed for another city where jazz was rising like a new religion. Or a poet scribbling lines by the dim glow of the carriage lamp, his verses shaped by the pulse of wheels beneath him. For these travelers, the train was a bridge to opportunity, carrying them beyond the limits of their current lives. Migrants, too, filled the cars. Families from the South, their belongings tied in bundles, boarded the midnight train north in search of better work and a different kind of freedom. The Great Migration was reshaping Chicago, and on these trains, you could see it unfolding. Children clutching dolls, mothers clutching hope, fathers clutching dreams that weighed heavier than their bags. Each ticket carried a promise, the chance for something new, though no guarantee it would be kind. Some passengers rode alone, their silence thick with stories untold. A woman in a dark coat stared out the window, her gloved hands folded tightly, the letter in her purse unread since the morning. A soldier home from war, his uniform wrinkled but his posture still sharp, gazed into the dark with eyes that saw both the future and the ghosts of the past. The train was filled with such solitary figures, their presence quiet but profound. And then there were those who simply drifted, salesmen chasing contracts, lovers chasing each other across city lines, wanderers chasing nothing at all. They were part of the restless current, pulled along by rails that seemed to echo the very heartbeat of the nation. In the sleeper cars, voices sometimes mingled. Strangers exchanged stories in hushed tones, finding brief comfort in conversation before the night grew heavy. A worker spoke of his long hours, a musician of the song he hoped to write, a migrant of the fields he had left behind. The train became a confessional, its dim light and steady hum loosening words that would never be spoken in daylight. Here, under the cloak of night, workers and dreamers shared space. Each carried different burdens, different visions, yet the same whistle guided them, the same rails carried them. The midnight train was a mirror of the nation itself, tired, ambitious, broken, and hopeful all at once. Section 4. The pulse of industry. The rails that carved through Chicago in the 1920s did not simply serve passengers. They were arteries of industry, pulsing with the raw energy of a nation determined to grow, to build, to consume. To ride the midnight train was to hear more than the wheels against steel. You heard the echo of factories, the clang of hammers, the low roar of furnaces shaping the modern world. Chicago was an industrial titan. The stockyards stretched like a city within a city, their smell carried on the wind, sharp, heavy, unforgettable. Cattle lowed in pens, workers moved with knives flashing under lantern light, and trains stood ready to carry away the endless product of labor. The rhythm of the slaughterhouse, relentless and unyielding, found its echo in the rhythm of the trains. Both were machines of necessity, both fueled the hunger of the nation. Steel mills glowed in the night, their smokestacks breathing fire into the sky. Sparks rained like stars brought down to earth as men worked through shifts that blurred day into night. The heat of the furnaces never faded, just as the trains never stopped rolling. Together, they symbolized progress, brutal, magnificent, exhausting. Factories lined the rail yards, their windows glowing like watchful eyes. Sewing machines clicked, presses pounded, engines churned. Workers left at odd hours, their bodies weary, their clothes carrying the dust and grit of labor. Many boarded the night trains not with joy, but with resignation. The rails simply an extension of their endless work, the wheels carrying them from one grindstone to the next. But industry was not only toil. It was also opportunity. For every man whose back bent beneath its weight, another found in it a path forward. Immigrants arrived daily, stepping into a world where rails, factories, and stockyards offered both survival and the possibility, though slim, of climbing upward. Industry was harsh, but it was open, and many took their first steps toward a new life along these very lines of smoke and steel. The trains carried more than passengers. Boxcars rattled behind the engines, filled with grain, meat, coal, and steel. The products of Chicago's endless labor flowed outward to the nation, feeding its cities, building its towers, fueling its growth. Each midnight whistle was not just a call of departure. It was a signal that the machinery of progress never rested. From the windows of passing trains, the city revealed its industrial soul. The glow of furnaces painted the night red. The smoke rose like restless spirits, and the clang of labor reached the ears of travelers. To ride the rails was to ride through the very engine of America's ambition. And so, the midnight trains became more than transport. They were the rhythm of industry itself, keeping time with hammer, furnace, and stockyard. They were proof that the nation was awake. Even in the small hours, its pulse strong, its hunger endless. Section 5. Echoes of jazz and prohibition. While the midnight trains cut their iron path through Chicago, another rhythm played just beyond their reach. It was the rhythm of jazz, the heartbeat of the roaring 20s, spilling out of hidden clubs, carried in smoky laughter, carried in the tap of restless feet. Chicago, by night, was alive with music. In speakeasies tucked behind shuttered storefronts or basements hidden by false doors, the trumpet's cry rose bold and unashamed. Saxophones answered, their tones smooth as silk, while drums rolled like thunder muffled by smoke. The melodies were new, electric, rebellious, just as restless as the city itself. They spoke to a generation determined to live in the moment, to dance despite the rules that bound them. Prohibition had closed illegal bars, but it had not closed desire. Instead, it had driven an underground, giving rise to a world both secret and vibrant. Bootleg liquor flowed, poured from unmarked bottles into glasses clutched tight by men in suits and women with bobbed hair and daring smiles. The law said no, but the night whispered yes, and Chicago listened. The trains echoed this defiance. Their whistles pierced the dark like a trumpet's wail, cutting across the city's skyline. Just as jazz bent the rules of music, the trains bent the boundaries of time and distance. Both were unstoppable. Both carried the pulse of a nation in motion. From the windows of midnight cars, one might glimpse it, a flicker of neon in a hidden doorway, a couple laughing too loud as they stumbled into the street, the faint thrum of music that refused to be silenced. The city was an orchestra, its parts mismatched, yet harmonious. The clang of industry, the cry of trains, the swing of jazz, the whispers of rebellion. And it was not only music and liquor. Prohibition had given rise to shadowed empires, built on smuggling, bribery, and violence. Gangsters rode the same streets as musicians, their names whispered in awe and fear alike. Their power shaped the city. Their reach extended into every corner. Chicago's nights were dangerous, yes, but they were also alive with a kind of raw, untamed energy that made the city irresistible. On board the train, passengers felt this atmosphere even if they never set foot